Alright guys, Catanonia here, Steve, and today we're going to be talking about the Chrony F1 Chronograph. As usual, if you feel like you're liking this channel, please subscribe, smash the thumbs up and thumbs down button, it all helps. And as usual, I will also leave video links and also links to products and stuff down below in the video description. So anyway, let's crack on. What we've got here is the Chrony F1, and this is your typical chrono that you will see on many of the YouTube channels and maybe even in your gun shops as well, and it is extremely popular. However, it can be a little bit more expensive than some of the alternatives. Let's have a quick look at the alternatives. What you can get is the three different common ones that you'll see. There are others out there, of course, but this type, which is really a paintball one, ex-Cortec, and many different clones and copies of it. You shoot through here and it reads it out here. Absolute junk. Yeah, seriously, in my opinion, don't work. I spent ages with it, doesn't work. And then you got the Combro CB625, which I've done a review on as well, and I'll leave links up here for you to check on that. This attaches to the end of your rifle, very small, very compact. It reads out and it tells you your speed and your power and whether you're legal or not, whatever the data you've inputted in here. Very good, but attaches to the end of your rifle. A few safety aspects with that, but actually quite good, and around about the 60 to 70 pound mark. So very good just for the let's just say the back garden plinker. But if you're a little bit more serious about your chronographs and you tinker with rifles and you change the power, or you really want to get into the science of it, then you do really need something a little better. And then you're looking at something like the F1 Chrono. There are copies of this around, but this is the major one that you will see. And they come in different variants, different sizes, and they range from about 110 all the way up to 230, 40, and you can throw extra bits onto it, and you know it can start mounting up. But these are very popular. These get used all the time, and this is why you see them on all the videos and all of the views for people doing them. So why do you need a chrono? Well, quite simply is that in a lot of countries you have power limitations that you can use air rifles. So for example, in the UK we've got to be under 12 foot-pounds. If we go over that, we need a firearms certificate, which is a pain in the backside to get hold of. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we're at that limit. And how do you know that? Well, what you've got to do is some calculations, and number one, you've got to know the speed of your pellet. You need to know the weight of your pellet. Well, that's easy because it's normally printed on the tins. Once you know the speed, you can do a calculation. I'll leave a link down below for a nice little calculator, and from there you can work out the energy or the foot-pounds coming out of the pellet, coming out of the rifle, i.e. the power, and you've got to be under 12 foot-pound. So number one is a legal reason. Number two is air rifles over time, they start to wear a little bit. Seals wear. The air pressure isn't always the same, and you may find that your rifle is running at, let's say, 11.5 foot-pound, and then in 2-3 years time it's probably running at something like 10 something, which is going to affect your pellet trajectory and going to affect your accuracy at the end of the day. So it's always handy, especially if you're really into your air rifles, to have a chronograph so that you can check your rifles regularly, especially if you do your own repairs or you modify your own rifles, which you shouldn't be doing, but if you are, then making sure that they're actually still legal. So that's really why you need a Chrony. Okay, so let's talk about the F1. How does it all work? It's the same as any other chronograph. Basically, you've got to measure the speed of the pellet between a fixed distance. So this unit actually folds out, and it is a fixed distance between this sensor here. So there's a sensor here, and there's a sensor there. And what happens is the pellet passes, the sensor detects it. Almost think of it like breaking a light beam. It's not quite, but the sensor detects it as it passes here. It starts a counter, and then when it crosses the back sensor, this one here, it stops the timer. That way then it's a simple speed calculation for distance versus time, and it can work out in feet per second. And that's pretty much how they work. Quite simple. You fire your pellet through, click, click, and then you get a speed. That's it. Nice and simple. On the F1s, you just have a little button here, you switch, and then it reads it out in here in feet per second. So there are many different forms of this, and I've got a piece of paper here because I can't remember them all, and you can spend a lot of money on them. That is what I've just shown you is the basic F1. The F stands for feet per second, and that's all it will display for you, is just the feet per second as a number each time you take a shot on there. The basic model, which is about, I think when I bought mine from Muttins, it was £114 UK pounds. So not cheap, certainly not cheap for the basic model. But you can get the M1, which measures in meters per second. Yep, there's two models, one for meters per second, one for feet. Why can't they put it in the same unit and have a little switch? I don't know, but there's two models. And then you get the alpha version, which actually has a memory in it. So I'm having to read all this off because it's rather complicated. So you get the alpha version that has a memory in it, so you can then cycle through a memory of shots that you took through it. You then have the gamma version, which is the F1 plus a little mini printer that prints out, you know, like a little old till receipt. You remember those 1960s calculators with a printer that used to come out? Yeah, like that. Really, really weird, but yeah, I don't know why you'd want them. And then you get the beta version, which has a 60-shot memory counter in it, so you can then cycle through and do all that. And then you get the master version, which has a separate readout display, so that you can move it away and read it elsewhere instead of having to look at it. But yeah, there's loads of them out there, and they range literally from, like I said, 115 UK pounds all the way up to 230 UK pounds. And then there's more extras and stuff that you can throw over them. So it can get very expensive, but you know what? The bog standard one will work brilliantly. So how do you use it? Well, quite simple. You unfold the device, you put the metal rods in, you put the shade over the top if you need it, we'll talk about that later, and then you need to fire, once you switched it on, you need to fire your rifle through the bars, and it's recommended that you fire it about 4 to 6 inches above the sensors, and they recommend that you put tape on. I don't know if you can see this here, but I've got some tape, a 2-inch piece of tape between 4 and 6. So that's where you should be aiming, so that it has the best chance of recognising the pellet. So I just mark that on the front there. It's powered by a simple, you can see it in there, 9-volt square battery. The whole unit, and that's it. The whole unit just unfolds, folds back up, and there we go. Power button on the front. You take your shot, and it just tells you a number. And the number there will be feet per second, because this is the F1 version. So what's all these things on the top, I hear a lot of people asking? Well, for the sensors to recognise the pellet, it has to notice a shadow moving past the sensor. It needs a contrast. To see the dark pellet, it needs something to see it against. Now, if you're outside and you've got an overcast sky or white clouds, then that's fine. It will probably pick the pellet up moving between, and you'll know straight away, because it'll just give you an error. And it says, I can't read it. But if it's a brightish day or you're having problems of recognising the pellet, then you put these screens over the top, and this produces a contrast, a white contrast, so that the pellet can be seen passing through, and it recognises it against the white. And the same on the back as well. And that's all these are for. It may look weird, but that's all they're for. Now you can actually extend these out. So they give you, and if we look in the box, they give you, this is the box it comes in, and this is the F1 version, and you can see these are the different types that there are, and there we see we got the F1 with the little blue sticker over it, but it comes in this box. They give you loads of instructions and loads of leaflets on buying additional bits and pieces, but we'll get rid of them. They give you extender rods as well, so you get 4 additional extender rods and extender screens, so that you can make this whole section here taller and more curved, so that you can actually, and this is a really good thing about this, put this down range. So this is one of the real good benefits of this, of the F1 Chronotype, is that number one, you can have this just in front of your rifle, and then you can aim through it, aim at your target, shoot 4 to 6 inches above, and it should then measure your pellet speed out of your barrel. So that's your barrel speed, pellet speed out of the barrel. Or you can put it down range just before your target. Now obviously make sure that you're a decent shot, and then you can aim through and hit your target, and you can find out what your pellet speed is at the target endpoint, which can be extremely useful, because if you want to know whether or not your pellet has actually got enough takedown power to take down your target, then that is very useful. And of course you can have two of these, one at the barrel end and one down at the target end. So you can combine these and do what you want with them, but they will run independently. So it's very, very versatile on how to do that. So quite simple, very simple setup, very easy to use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it outside. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to use my old Springer, which to be honest, I don't even know what power it's running at the moment. The legal limit in the UK is 12 foot-pounds. I don't know what it is, so I'm going to take it outside. We're going to set it up, and then we'll do a quick calculation and see what we've got coming out of my old Springer, and then we'll come back and do some summary and conclusions on this bad boy. Okay, so we're outside, and I've got my old BSA Tactical Lightning. I have no idea what this is. I know it was around about 10.5 foot-pound when I first got it. It's been sat in a cupboard for ages. I hardly shoot it. So, I've got the chrono set up. I've got a separate camera up here, which you can see. Chrono set up on the table. I've zeroed the rifle. Always important, make sure you are shooting and you've got a safe backstop. So my rifle's all zeroed up. I'm zeroed out to 25 meters, and I've got the chrono lined up so I can see straight through it perfectly in towards the target area. So very important. A lot of people seem to forget this when they're chronoing. They've got to remember where the pellet's going. They're concentrating too much on the chrono. You see that I've got the chrono about a foot away from the end of the barrel of the rifle. So what we're going to do is it's switched on, and we're just going to take a couple of shots, and then we're going just to remember the numbers that it gives us, and we use that as our average. I'm just going to use RWS Super Domes because I hate them and easy to get rid of them. And I think these are 14.5 grains. Yes, they're 14.5 grains. So we'll just stick one of these in, obviously nice and carefully, and we'll just line ourselves up properly. And we'll make sure that we're going 4 to 6 inches through the chrono, and then we'll take our shot. And we've got a measurement, number 1 paired up, and we're at 516.9 feet per second. Now, always do averages. So, that's realistically you should be taking 10 shot averages to work it out, because if it will fluctuate a little bit by plus or minus a few feet per second. So again, each time you take a shot, make sure you're perfectly lined up. Shot number 2, 514.8. So everything's working nicely at the moment. It's cold out there. That's the only fun thing about filming in the UK in wintertime. It's not nice and pleasant. Anyway, so we did some Chrony on that, and I've got the results written down. But so I got an average of 516.14, and then I'll leave a picture up now. If you go to this website, there's plenty of others around. You can plug that number in, 516.14, put in your pellet grain. Mine was 14.5 for RWS Super Domes, and it comes out at, ooh, this ain't good, 8.58 foot-pounds. Yeah, my BSA Tactical. Now, I've had that 4 or 5 years. It's probably had 3,000-4,000 shots through it. I've no idea what it was when I got it. The chances are BSA probably shipped it to me at 10.5. It needs a service, and that is a good reason why you need a chrono. But I hope you just show the basic operation of the F1 Chrony. Yeah, nice and simple. Easy to use, multiple configurations with it, the way that you can set it at the front of your rifle or downrange, really easy to use. I don't think anyone can see any problems with that. So as usual, let's do some of my final summaries and reviews on this. Well, let's do the good points. Okay, first off, it is good, yeah. It is for the up to £120 mark, certainly the best chrono out there. It's very accurate, it's got a good degree of accuracy, very good, and that's why a lot of people use it. You can't argue with the numbers of people using it. Simple, easy to use, I do like that, definitely. It's robust, yeah. Obviously don't shoot it. I know some people have shot them before, just don't shoot it. And you can use it at the end of your rifle to take your muzzle velocity, or you can use it downrange to do your target velocity. So it's very flexible in those ways. It comes also with a tripod stand on here, and it's got little holes so you can actually drill it into a table, and you can use it indoors, outdoors, outside. It can cope with different lighting conditions with or without these on here. Very flexible. But I'm afraid that's where it stops, really. There are a lot of bad points. Now I've got some notes taped under my camera here so I don't forget them all. Right, first off, right, nice and simple. Why is this £115 for the basic model? Look at it. What is it? What is it? Okay, it's a tin box. Now I'm going to take these parts off here deliberately. I'm going to take these off, put them on the table. I'm going to take the rods out. Because at the end of the day, it's just 2 pieces of plastic and a couple of pieces of metal. Yep. So, why is this £115? Please tell me. I don't get it. What have we got? We've got an LCD display. There is no fancy electronics in here. It shows one number, feet per second. They don't even give you a battery. It's just a battery housing in there. There's one cable and it folds up. The most expensive thing in here I can think of are the 2 sensors. Now, I don't know too much about sensors, but lots of other chronos out there at a fraction of the price of these have no problems keeping the cost down. So I can't see these sensors being £60, £70 worth. No, I can't. This reminds me of 1960s going into space by the Russians. It's not changed. There's nothing in it. It's just a box. It's just built like an old school calculator. I don't get it. I don't get it. They've got the M version for meters per second. They've got the F version for feet per second. All the other chronos that we see out here, you can just switch that automatically. All they do is put a little chip in here. Why have you got one that remembers the memory for the last couple of shots or the last 60 shots? Put a little chip in it. Modern technology, and then you can get all of that lot in one unit. I could just go dink, change it to meters per second, feet per second. If you did that and we could put the pellet weight in, this could then also show you your energy in joules or foot-pounds. It's just so simple to do. But no, this thing is stuck in the 1960s. It really is, and I don't get it. There's that many different ones, the M, the F, the Gamma, the Beta, the Master. Just change this, put some modern technology in it, and then I would quite happily pay probably £150 for it. But that I just really don't get at all. Another thing I don't like about it, you see this cable? Every time you come to close it up, if you're not careful, that cable gets caught in here. And if you chop that cable, it's broken. That's it. Just be really careful. Now I've actually rebent mine to make sure that I can't possibly do that. So that when I close it all up, it's nice. So watch out for that. I've seen that happen. Also, no auto switch off. Why not? After 20 minutes and nothing's happened, switch off. No, it doesn't. It's a bog standard 1960, switch the unit on. It'll stay on until your battery dies. Come on. What else? The ergonomic design. You're going to love this one. Right, here's the box. The whole point is it's supposed to fill up nice and compact. Awesome. Here's the rods. And here's the units for the shields, which break down in half. Let's break one down. Right, so they break down. Awesome. Right, you got this. Okay, let's see if we can get these inside. Oh yes, they fit. Nice. The rods? No, the rods are too long. So you can't put everything inside and close the unit up. So what do you end up doing? You have this. I nearly got my cable trapped again. And now you've got to carry the rods separately because they don't fit. Look, they're too long. Just simple ergonomics. Make it slightly longer or make the rods slightly shorter. So you can put the rods inside, put it all together nicely and transport it away. Simple ergonomics. But no, I've got a funny feeling this thing was designed, got a pattern on it. I don't know, I'm speculating a lot here, but it's got a pattern on it. And they've decided to rest on their laurels and just keep building them. Because you know what, nobody else is doing it. And they're just lazy and not updating. So I may be completely wrong, but this is just my gut feeling on it. If you can get the little CB625, can put a little chip in there and does all of the functionality in metric, meters per second, allow you to have shot count memory, why can't they do it? I don't know. No, I'll tell you what, we'll bring out a new model for meters per second. So Yeah, I'm just checking my list down here, and that's pretty much what I don't like about it. But at the end of the day, it is the best cheap chronograph out there. Everybody uses them. It's sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. If you want a chronograph and you want to spend up to £150 maximum, and you don't want one of the smaller ones that sits on the end of your rifle, any of the alternatives, and you don't want to spend hundreds of more pounds on the more really up-to-date modern ones that do all the shooting stuff and everything, then yes, I suppose you've got no choice but to get one of these, because they are the best ones out there. And of course it will actually quite happily measure up rimfire pellet bullets as well. It's not just for air rifles. So anyway, it's a shame. I wish they would just modernise it. Please, please, whoever makes this, I don't even know who makes it, but whoever makes it, please, please, please modernise it. Put a chip in it, please. Alright, so that's enough of that. That's my quick review on the Chrony F1. If you're interested in chronographs, then yes, these are the ones to get. So hopefully you like this video. Links are down below in the video description as usual. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, it all helps the channel. Consider being a Patreon. I always forget, is it that side, is it that side? I put the link up. And we'll see you on the next video, guys. And